Come on in, everyone. Come on in as we are here to talk about Tia Mowry's My Next Act. We're in season 1, episode 4, y'all. And welcome. If you're here for the premiere, thank you for showing up. Look forward to reading all your comments down in the live chat and also in the comments section below. And I'm still loving that. I'm still loving the series, y'all. Like I said, this is actually one of my favorite reality TV shows on right now. I'm really loving Tia and how she's coming to this show. Very authentic, and I think there's so many lessons in her show. I think it's a good show, y'all. So many lessons. And I know they're calling this show All Is Well, but I've retitled it when I say a real life happens. Real life happens because I think Tia is really sharing with us some real life moments that people can relate to. One thing I want to clear up. I'm definitely one of the people who feel like Tia shouldn't have gotten a divorce. But I think people are conflating that with, I don't understand how Tia got where she is in terms of being unhappy in her marriage. Those are two different things. I really don't like when people conflate two different things. Empathy, sympathy, understanding is one thing. Agreement is another. Those are two separate things. People tend to think they go together. That if you understand me, then you'll agree with me. No, that's not the same thing. That's actually not the same thing. I can understand how Tia got where she is. In fact, I understand it even more in this whole series, but I don't have to agree with how she handled the situation. Now, emotions, lots of people can understand emotions, but it doesn't mean I understand what you do with those emotions or I agree, right? I understand them. I empathize with you. I feel you, but I can still disagree. And when you're not able to have that type of a conversation with a person where they feel as if because you don't agree with me, you must not understand me. No, both can exist. You ever start talking to a person and they start screaming and yelling and you're saying, why are you yelling? Why are you yelling at me? And they tell you, well, it's because you're not understanding me. You're not listening to me. No, I'm listening to you. I'm hearing you. Should I repeat back to you what you said to me so that you know I hear you and I understand you? But what they're conflating is that you still don't agree with what they're doing, right? I can understand when a person's angry, upset, and mad, but I don't have to agree with the way you're treating another person because you're angry, upset, and mad. I understand what got you mad. I understand what got you there, but I don't have to agree with what you're doing with that anger. And what I still say about Tia is I understand how she got to the point in her marriage where she was lost and she was unhappy. What I don't agree with is what she did next to fix it. I don't think she needed to break up her marriage. Now, we're going to see in this episode lots of real life moments. So let's get into it. But before we do, y'all, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe and all that good stuff. So one of the things I think about Tia, the more I watch her show, the more I realized is that she and Corey both really probably needed some good counseling, some good coping skills, how to get themselves out of sticky situations. Because I'm finding out that a lot of the sticky situations they were in their marriage, lots of people experience that in marriage. And the successful marriages are the ones that figured out how to solve the problem. The unsuccessful ones couldn't figure it out and their marriages then fell apart. That's Tia and Corey. But the problem that they had is like an age-old problem. It's probably a problem in a lot of long-term relationships. So in a lot of ways, I feel like both Corey and Tia should have also developed more skills to cope with what they were going on in their marriages and fix those issues. And in this episode, Tia starts to really admit what I've been saying all along is she has anxiety. And she catastrophizes things. Her friends are saying it. Everyone's saying it. So sometimes when you catastrophize things, you blow them up to what they're more. It also creates anxiety. And your anxiety also makes you catastrophize things. And what Tia has told us is she struggled with that all her life. And when you're a person who has anxiety or catastrophizes things, it's hard for you to then develop solutions because your anxiety is so high. All you're concentrating on is your emotion at the time and how you're feeling. You're not really moving into your more logical space, which is then to figure out, how do I get out of this? What you're doing is you're just trying to, it's the anxiety is taking over emotionally. So I get that Tia right now has been married for 22 years or in a marriage for 22 years and she was unhappy. And it kind of sounds like Tia just wanted a hot girl summer. Like someone wrote last week, she really wanted to get her groove back. And I think she also felt overwhelmed in her marriage. I also think that she wanted some things from Corey that he wasn't giving to her, which tells me he also needed some coaching. He also needed some developing. He also needed some techniques to be there for her in ways he could have been there for her. But these are all things that could have been learned. These aren't things that are fundamental problems inherently to a person. You see, some things you can't repair in marriage because part of the problem is that people are just like, let's just say you're just a rude, mean person naturally. It's hard to reteach a person, don't be so mean. You know what I mean? But there are techniques you can learn in marriage to make your relationship with your partner better. So as a married woman myself, I can really relate to this show that Tia's going on with. And there's so many things else that happen in the show that I can relate to. But like I said, I understand her. I empathize with her. I sympathize with her. But I still disagree on the way that she handled it. But let's get into this episode. When the episode starts off, it starts off with Tia doing some remote auditioning for like a new part in the show or something. And she's telling us about how, everything's digital, everything's through Zoom now. No longer do you go in for casting auditions. You basically are just looking in front of a camera and doing a casting audition. And she talks about how she's not technically savvy. Well, welcome to the world. Everything is on Zoom. Interviewing, casting, everything. And we find out that Jerome is still staying with her, still giving her support through this time, being an extra person on the show with her, giving some new flavor to the show. I like Jerome on the show. I think he adds some good funny moments to the show. So I think it was a good idea bringing him and casting him on the show. I mean, like we said, she doesn't really see him as much as she used to. This is the first time that he's even meeting Cairo. So I don't know what happened between Tia and Jerome, that they just didn't see each other as much anymore. Maybe the same thing happened with her and Jerome that happened with her and her sister when Tia says life happens and people's lives go in different directions. And sometimes you don't have as much time for each other. Well, I guess Jerome and Tia didn't have as much time for each other either. But at least they're rekindling their cousinhood, because that's what they are. They're cousins. And Jerome understands Tia. They've been cousins since they were little kids. Like she said, Jerome has known her since before she was even a child actor. So these types of long-standing relationships, even though you may have a period of where you're not close or tight, hopefully you can come back together. Same thing with Tia. Hopefully she can come back together with her sister Tamara, even though in this moment, she told us before, they're not as close. But one of the moments that became one of the highlights of the shows was showing Tia going for like her yearly medical appointment to get a mammogram. And Tia had a moment. Tia had a moment because she was going to get her yearly mammogram. And she comes to find out that something abnormal is in her mammogram. And the doctors have to call her back in and tell her, we need you to come in for a biopsy. So that's going to be a lot about what's the show. I really could relate to this moment because it happened to me. It happened to me. So I get how she was freaked out, how she was scared. I get all those emotions. I get how when you get that type of news, your mind can start thinking the worst, that you have cancer. And then, of course, being a mom, she also starts thinking about what happens to my children. You know what I mean? So I really could relate to all the emotions that Tia was having and her reaction to some of it. But there was a little bit of scene prior to all that kind of going off where while she's going to go get her mammogram, she has Jerome who's going to keep Cairo and a babysit for Cairo. And, Cairo's playing and she's being a little director, and she tells Jerome that she's going to be the mommy and he's going to be the daddy. And we find out that Cairo's just a little bit of an entertainer. You know, later on they have a discussion about whether or not would Tia ever want Cairo to be in film and acting, because Jerome tends to believe that Cairo is a natural actor. She's got a lot of personality. She's just like Tia. She's a natural entertainer, but she's also very bossy. Very bossy. They were sitting talking about it in Tia's fabulous entertainment room. Tia got a fabulous entertainment room with a big theater room and everything. Like I said before, her house is really, really nice. And so Jerome was telling Tia that, yeah, Cairo is just like you. She's really, really bossy. And do you think you'll ever get her in the industry? And, Tia started speaking about her experience being a child actor, getting to it so young. But she talks about it was something that it wasn't that her parents put her into it. She said initially she and her sister were just doing pageants, and they were doing small things like that and talent shows. And eventually that's what made them cross over to acting, but it was something that they wanted. And she's saying that, she doesn't know if she would ever push that on Cairo, because there's good parts and there are bad parts to being a child actor. But yet she's introducing the Cairo to it. So in one way, I understand what Tia is saying, that she doesn't want to force acting on her daughter. But Cairo now is pretty much in every episode of Tia's show. So she is absolutely introducing Cairo to the entertainment world. Unlike her son, who doesn't want to participate at all, she's introducing Cairo to it. So in one way, she can't say she wants to see if it happens naturally for Cairo, because if it happened naturally, she wouldn't introduce it. Cairo would ask for it. But in this particular situation, no, Tia, you're actually introducing her to it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to see if she likes it or not. And then if she likes it or not, you'll let her move forward with it. Those are two different things. It isn't really happening naturally, organically. What you're doing is you're introducing it and you're trying to see if she likes it. So, I don't know. One way she's saying she's trying to protect her from it, because she really doesn't kind of want her to be in that world, because what Tia said was she missed out on a lot. And this is how we know how Tia got where she is. I think Tia thinks of her whole life of things she missed out on, being a child actor, not dating, not having a lot of dating experiencing, marrying the first man that she loved, the first man that she kind of lost her virginity to. And I think what happened to her in her marriage was she thought about all the things she missed out on. And she wants to go back and recapture that. She talked about how she never went to her prom because, of course, she was a child actor. She couldn't go to her prom. Well, lots of people don't go to their prom even when they are not even child actors. A lot of people miss out on moments in life and say, wow, I wish I would have done that when I was younger, but I didn't. And then they go back and they try to relive those moments. And I don't think anything's wrong with that. You missed out on a prom. Some people say, I missed out on my prom. I'm going to go to my children's prom. Or I'm going to have a prom. I'm going to throw a prom party. Or I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Is it the exact same? No. But they do find ways to say, let me try to go back and capture some moments I wish I would have had. I think a lot of that is what Tia's doing when, like I said, when she got a divorce. There's moments she missed out on. She missed out on her hot girl summer. She missed out on her Stella got her groove back. She missed out on dating multiple men. She missed out on all that. And so then when she's sitting in her marriage and she's thinking, oh, I'm unhappy, it feels boring, I wish I would have done those things. What I need to do is now I need to blow up my marriage so that I can go back and do those things. And that's what she's doing. She's now going back, trying to redo a lot of things that she didn't get to do while she was young. And what she's saying is, I don't want my daughter to have the same life I did in terms of being a child actor. And my daughter missed out on all those things. So I kind of don't want her to be a child actor. But there were some good things that happened to you, Tia. That's the one thing about as parents, we want to maybe shield our kids from some things that we had in our lives. But some of those things we had in our lives also made us better people. So sometimes when you're shielding your child, yeah, you're shielding them for certain things, but it's also some of those things that built who they are now. There's no right or wrong way about doing it. There really isn't. And she's the mother. She's going to decide what she wants to do first. But a lot of what I see Tia doing now is trying to reach back in time and grab things that she feels that she missed. She said that being in the industry long, she learned how to work hard. She did. She learned how to make money. She said she also learned that we were there for people's entertainment. We were there to make people smile. We were there to make people laugh. And so a lot of ways, maybe this is the part that Tia talks about where maybe she feels as if she was always there to please other people, that she's a people pleaser, and she was never there to take care of herself, where she was always taking care of other people. Maybe that's what she means when she says taking care of other people. And this is why I say to Tia that I think she's also conflating things. Tia conflates, I was always there to make you laugh as a child actor. Therefore, I was giving to you, but I wasn't nourishing myself. I get that part. But in that, Tia, you were also getting paid. That's what I'm saying. No one made Tia become our child actor. No one made Tia make us laugh. There are plenty of people out there who could have entertained us, who could have made us mad. What Tia combines is, I was there for your entertainment. I was there to make you laugh. So therefore, you are kind of part of the reason I feel this way. No, that's what I keep saying about Tia. Tia's got to own her own emotions. Because if she keeps blaming the recipient of what she does, then what happens is she doesn't realize the power of her life. It's what I started talking about with her and Corey, was that in a lot of ways, I think what Tia does is she looks with things she's unhappy about. She says to herself, why did I do them? I did them to please another person, which is either you, the audience. I'm here to please you, to make you laugh. I did them from Corey to make Corey happy. So therefore, in my unhappiness, she's expecting all of us to do something different. No, what you would need, Tia, is for you to do something different. You can still be an actor, but what you can do is you can take control of your own emotions. You can separate your emotions and say, yeah, I'm here to entertain these people, but these people don't control me. I'm also here to be in a marriage, but it doesn't mean I have to be controlled by the marriage. It's two different things. I can still be an actor and an actress and not be a people pleaser. I can still be in a marriage and not be a people pleaser. I think what Tia tends to do is she tends to blow up the moments because she wants the moments to be the reason why she feels a certain kind of way. But what that is that can just turn into a whole lot of blown up moments. And some of those moments really did yield you fruit. Being an actress has been good to Tia. Does she really want to stop acting? No, not really, because it brings in the money. It's how she eats. It's how she lives. It's been good things. She's just got to learn how to keep the acting, just like in a marriage or being in a marriage someone, the marriage doesn't have to own her completely. I think Tia gets so far into these roles, whatever role she's playing as an actress or as a wife, she loses herself in them. And that's when the unhappiness comes from. But she's the only one that can control that. She's the only one that can control not losing herself. And once she realizes she has that power, she'll also have that power to grab back her happiness. But while she's grappling with this news that she's going to have to go in and have a biopsy done because they found an abnormality on her mammogram, she gets a call from Mr. Charles from last week. They had a good day last week, and he says she is her superwoman. First of all, Tia don't want to be no superwoman. That's what she's tired of. Tia is tired of being a superwoman, but yet coming out of this man's mouth, she feels giddy. She feels young. You could tell that Tia has been hungry for the compliments. She is hungry for the appreciation. And this points to probably in her marriage, she didn't get enough of it. What it points to is that when she was in her marriage and she was doing things, whether they were just routine, being a mother, acting, she didn't feel appreciated by Corey. Maybe Corey didn't give her enough compliments. But like I said, these are all things that every marriage runs into. You don't sometimes feel appreciated by your husband. You've got to kind of go to counseling about it. I wish, and maybe they did go, I really wish they would have figured out a way to solve some of these issues, because these are solvable issues. There's very good techniques you can put into place in your marriage when you're starting to feel unappreciated, or you're feeling like you need more words of encouragement. There were moments in my own marriage where I had to institute a rule with me and my husband. I said, every day, I want you to say something sweet to me. I want you to say something nice to me. I want you to say something encouraging to me, right? My husband is very spiritual, so he typically always sends me a Bible verse every day, and that is uplifting. But I said, I want to hear some sweet and kind words from you every day. Just something. Every day I want you to come up with at least something to say to me that is sweet and it's kind. And these are the types of things that you have to implement in your marriage when you're starting to feel like, wow, do you see me? Do you see all I'm doing? Do you notice everything that I'm doing? And sometimes people see it and they notice it, but they don't tell you that they notice it. And like my husband said, well, I know you do so much around here, and I appreciate everything that you do around here. And you have to remind people, well, I need to hear those words from you. I know you appreciate it. In my heart, I know you appreciate it, but I need to hear it. I need to hear the words of affirmation. And that's what Tia needed. She needed words of affirmation. And sometimes you have to teach people your love language. And those people have to learn your love language. And those people have to then perform your love language. You know, so when this guy comes along and tells Tia, ooh, Tia says, oh, he says, what were you doing? She says, oh, I was folding clothes and washing clothes. And he says, oh, you a superwoman. And she said, it was just nice to have someone appreciate all the things that I'm juggling. All the things that I'm juggling. It was nice to have these words of affirmation. And what we learned about Tia is she's very, very dependent on words of affirmation. It has absolutely got to be one of her number one top love languages. She needs words of affirmation. She needs lots of people around her always pointing to her, giving her words of affirmation. So this was candy to her ears coming from this man. She got all giddy. She said she felt like a schoolgirl again. And you could tell when she was lighting up, when this man was saying what he was saying, you could tell she was hungry for it. She was thirsty for it, and she hadn't had it in a while. I suspect that this was another part of their marriage where she wasn't feeling supported by Corey in the words of affirmation. He would have needed to learn how to do that even more. Even more. He would have had to learn it. She would have had to tell him exactly what she needed. She wouldn't have been able just to act as if he could learn it on his own. You got to teach people how to love you right. You have to teach your mates sometimes how to love you right. So they were all giddy on the phone, and they got to set up a second date, and later on they're going to go on and have some sushi. And then she's all excited about it, and she's saying, okay, well, I really want to be able to still go on the date and concentrate on the date. But now I got this bad news about this mammogram. So she comes into the doctor's office. I'm so glad they showed it. I'm so glad they showed to other women that having a biopsy was really easy. It's not hurtful. It's not anything. All this, I was so happy they showed it. I went through all this as well. I thought it was very educational for women. I understood all of Tia's anxiety and what she was thinking. And I understood her saying to herself, you know, why at this moment is this happening to me? I'm already dealing with my mental health, right? Trying to tamper down her anxiety, because I think she realizes now her anxiety gets the best of her. And she says, now I have to have this information. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about last week, when people were talking about the difference between being married and being single. And I said, being married does not mean you don't go through tough moments. Life still happens. All it means is now you get to go through some of those things with someone beside you. That's all it means, is now you have someone there beside you. And so what Tia went to when she found out that she was going to have the biopsy, she started thinking about all her alone moments. She kept saying, wow, I've got to go through this all alone. But yet she did have a village there with her. She had Jerome. She's going to bring in her girlfriends to help her. But she also started talking about the fact that, well, now that I'm a single mom, what if something does happen to me? You know, I fall sick, and now my kids are already single with me. Now what happens? That's what I mean. You see, those are the type of things you wouldn't have to worry about when you have a life partner, because you say, even if I do get sick, there's someone else there already in the house. Now, I'm sure Corey would step up if Tia got sick, but these are the type of worries that Tia didn't count on having to think about in these moments. She wasn't thinking about all the times that Corey was probably there for her. So that's why I said I think they neglected each other. I think they both did not appreciate how much they were contributing to each other. And now that they're apart, I bet they're all realizing how much of a part of each other's lives they were. And they probably wish they had shown a bit more appreciation. I think that Tia misses a lot of things about Corey. And I'm sure that Corey also misses a lot of things about Tia. And I think what they probably missed in their relationship was a lack of appreciation of each other. And this is very, very common in marriages, because when you've been married for a long time, you just start to begin accepting parts of people, and you sometimes can stop expressing appreciation, and that eventually will start to wane on the marriage. It will wane on the marriage. I can relate to a lot of things that, like I said, that Tia's been through, because those are things that happen in marriage all the time. That's why when she was saying, people thought her marriage was perfect. Where? Who would think that? Not a married person. Not a married person at all. So yeah, Tia was doing the same thing I started doing when I be finding a little illness with myself. I start Googling it and becoming self-diagnosing yourself. That's a bad idea. It's a bad idea to go through Google when you start Googling your symptoms. I do it all the time and start sending myself spiraling down a dark hill. I try not to do it because I'm not a person who always suffers from a large anxiety, but a person who suffers from anxiety, they probably definitely don't need to do that. Tia definitely needs coping mechanisms for her anxiety. She says she's starting to journal. She's starting to meditate. Like I said before, don't be afraid, Tia. Don't be afraid of getting a little medication for it, because I think Tia might need, I said it last time, I still think Tia might need a little bit of medication to help smooth her out a little bit. I really do believe it. Because next thing we know, she's back into that dark room of crying again. I thought we were going to get through a whole episode of Tia not crying, but I understand her crying over this. But once again, we were in the back room crying again in that dark bedroom, in that dark environment. And I just think that even makes the situation even worse. And it's just becoming a scene it's just becoming a scene familiar to us with Tia. It really, really does. But the good thing that Tia did was she gathered all her friends up to support her and love on her, which she should. And also good thing was she had a friend who's already been through breast cancer. So her friend was able to come there, comfort her, coach her through it, comfort her, calm her down a bit, and tell her, listen, you're the one who always goes to the worst case scenario. And so, just go through the biopsy. It may not be bad. Same thing with me. When I went through it, I found out the doctors say, you know what? You've got dense breasts. You've got fibrocystic breasts. So pretty much every year when I go get my mammogram, I typically have to get a mammogram and an ultrasound because I just have dense breasts. And they're always going to want to go and dig like a little bit deeper. But, she starts, worrying about getting the biopsy, how she's going to be all alone. And she's saying how thankful she is to have family and friends around her. And she decides she wants to use this platform to do some good. So I think taking the cameras into the exam room, walking through viewers on the steps that she had to take, I think was very, very good. Like I said, this show is going to do some good. It's going to help some people. And then the other relatable moment was she decided to pair up with a church here in LA called Faithful Central Bible Church in Inglewood. And that was my church, y'all, for 10 years. 10 years I went to that church in the early 2000s. That was my church for 10 years. So it was nice to see her partner with that church with a foundation, I guess, called the Pink Foundation, where they were giving away free mammograms. So totally relatable moment that she ended up pairing up with that church. Bishop Omer, a great teacher. He is a great teacher. I went there for 10 years. So total relatable moment. And like I said, I think it was really, really good to see that and share that with the viewers. And then she decided, you know what? She's still going to go out on this date. She's still going to have her a good time. So she got her finest dress on. She was looking good. Tia was looking good. Like I said, Tia got good style. That's one thing I got to give her. She has very good style, very good taste. And she went out with Charles. They had a good time. He saw her. He told her how good she looked. They were going out to have a little bit of sushi. And we come to find out that earlier in the day, he had sent her a dozen of white roses. So she was giddy. She was happy. She had tons of energy. She brought a good personality to the date. Some ladies can take some pages out of Tia's book on a good first date. And Tia had a good date. She had a good date with this guy. She was energetic. They had good conversation. She's a natural born talker and everything. They spoke a little bit about their daughters. He told her a little bit more about his daughter and her daughter. And then he dropped a bomb on her, telling her, yeah, he also wants to start more of a family. So I think he wants more children. I think he wants more children, which I don't think this relationship with him has legs. Maybe this is just going to be Tia's hot girl summer. Maybe this is just going to be her still I got her groove back. Because I think where this man wants to go, it may not be where Tia's going to go, but maybe it's just a bus stop. Maybe it's just a stop along the road to where she eventually lands. But they seem to enjoy each other's company. You know, they both love Afro beats. And Tia's like, oh, that's what I listen to when I work out too. And she's very excited. And Tia brings this freshness to the conversation. You know, Tia hasn't had a lot of the horror stories with men. So she's coming into dating, I think, open. She's not coming in traumatized. She's not coming in with a whole lot of wounds. And I think that man, you know, that Charles recognizes that. They're talking about conversation about, you know, what does Tia like, you know, what does he like to do? He likes to give back to. I forget what he is. I think he works with the school. Yeah, he's a basketball coach. He works with kids. He works with kids. He said one of his favorite vacations to travel was when he went back to a refugee camp in Kenya. And she said she loves the fact that he loves to support and give back, because Tia says she likes that part of him. And then she goes ahead and shares with him her news of having to go and get a biopsy. She felt comfortable sharing it with him, showing her vulnerability. And I think that, you know, he was like, wow, thank you for feeling so comfortable sharing that with me. It was a bit heavy of something to talk about on a second date. I'm not for sure I would do it, but I think that's who Tia is. I think Tia always likes a lot of support around her. So anytime she can get support, I think Tia asks for it. So in this moment, it didn't surprise me that Tia brought it up because I think that's her personality. I always keep saying about Tia is kind of a lot of work as a friend. Not because I think what Tia does is Tia does like you to know of her emotions and rally around of her emotions. So I think a lot of Tia's emotions take a front seat in relationships. And if you are the type of friend or in a relationship with her, you might feel as if your emotions take a back seat. Because Tia's emotions are front and in center. And so she was comfortable sharing her emotions with that man because in a lot of ways, she was also seeking comfort from him. And that's part of her personality. That's why I don't think Tia knows how much work she is. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with what she did, but I also think she has to know what type of a burden that can also be on other people. When you're constantly sharing your emotions with them, your emotions can also consume them. And that's what would make people also sometimes need a little distance from Tia just so they can get in touch with their own emotions. You know, she talks about it with her sister Tamara. Sometimes people then create separation between you because what they're saying is when I'm with you, it all becomes about your emotions and there's no room for my own. You got that? Does anyone have that girlfriend that when you get together, she spends the entire conversation talking about herself? And it's only until right when you guys are about to get off the phone or you're about to get up from the table, maybe you met for lunch. She goes, girl, I'm sorry. I've been talking this whole time. I didn't even ask what's going on in your life. Does anyone have that type of a friend where they talk about themselves the total time of the conversation and they never really ask about how you're doing in your life? So the conversation really just becomes about them, all their problems, solving all their problems. And then next thing they know, they really don't know anything about you or what's going on in your life because they only spend the last 5 minutes of the conversation even asking you, well, how about you? What's going on in your life? That's how I think Tia kind of is. I think Tia takes up a lot of room in relationships. And until she also recognizes that, she won't make room for other people in the relationship and their own emotions. But in the end, Tia was doing a little bit of cooking or cake decorating or cake making with her daughter and Jerome. And she gets a phone call from the doctor saying, I've got news for you. I'm giving you the results of the biopsy. And I was surprised she took the call right there in front of Cairo. I probably would have stepped out and said, hold on a second. Because if it was bad news, I wouldn't have wanted my daughter to see that expression on my face and see my worry or my concern. That's also one of the things I brought that up before with Tia, in that she's very comfortable showing all her emotions in front of people, and that she doesn't understand can also become a burden from other people. And I remember in one of the first episodes, she says her daughter had a worry doll, and I kept saying, why does her daughter have a worry doll? And she said, because Cairo feels all her emotions. And I kept saying, well, why is Cairo exposed to all your emotions all the time? And then here's this moment where she's about to get the news of whether or not her biopsy was good or bad. And she takes the call in front of Cairo. And I thought, wow, Tia, why didn't you step out? Because if it were bad news, why would you want Cairo to see that? Why would you want Cairo to see those emotions? You wouldn't have been able to hide it. But luckily, the news was good news. So there was nothing bad for Cairo to see. And Jerome was there. She shared with Jerome, look, it's also good news. But like I said, that just shows me that Tia's emotions, that's why she's good at this reality show, because I think she doesn't hide it. It's so far up front. It really is reality TV. She's not good at hiding her emotions, which makes her good for reality TV. But what she's got to understand is that when you're in a relationship with a person, whether that's a girlfriend, a husband, a mother, your emotions can't always take up all the room, because that can be heavy for a lot of people, really, really heavy. And it can be a burden that you shouldn't always put on your loved ones. And you've got to sometimes learn to make room for other people's emotions. Like I said, I really feel like Corey and Tia's relationship is a result of them not learning who they are and not learning techniques, skills, coping mechanisms to help them through these moments. They both were each other's early on dating. So just like I'm saying, Tia didn't know any of this, I bet Corey didn't know any of it either. They didn't know of any either, but I feel like, man, I really wish they could have figured it out. Because when you look at everything else Tia talks about her marriage, it really seemed like it could have been a marriage that could have lasted even longer. It really does. But hopefully she'll learn all this stuff before she goes into a new relationship. I know she's dating. I guess she's just dating now to get her groove back, just dating for her hot girl summer. Because if she doesn't learn all this now, all she's going to do is repeat it in her next relationship, and then that too can end in divorce. So I hope she learns a lot of what I'm talking about. I really, really do. Anyway, that's it for now. That's all that went on. At the very end, they show her going to this event, and then she gets stuck in an elevator, and they show previews that the fire department is going to have to come to her and get her out of the elevator. So I guess we'll see that next week. But that's it, y'all. Don't forget to like the video, y'all. Don't forget to comment down below, and I will talk to y'all later. Okay, bye.